Welcome to the Empowered Flow podcast. I'm Tris Alexandra, holistic clinical nutritionist, women's health and menstrual cycle educator, and mama. Join me and experts in nutrition, fitness, mindset, and holistic healing as we explore conversations to open your mind to a different way of thinking on all things women's health, hormones, periods, cyclical living, and fertility. Whether you're seeking knowledge, inspiration, or a supportive community, you've found your tribe. Let's dive in. Hello, beautiful humans. Today's episode is all about meal planning and prepping. I want to make this a super practical episode to help you plan and prep with ease and make healthy eating easier. I have my first male guest on the podcast, my husband Flynn, and I wanted to bring him on so that we can chat to you about how we meal plan and prep as a family, as individuals, as a couple, and as a family with a toddler, how we kind of like navigate all of those different nutritional needs, taste preferences, all of that sort of thing. Obviously, you know, as male and female, we have different nutritional needs. We have different lifestyles in the sense of like how often we exercise and our work schedules and things like that. So how we navigate meal planning and prepping around that. And I'm going to talk about tips, my meal planning tips on how to make your meal planning and prepping easier to reach your goals. So welcome, Flynn.
G'day, how are you?
So he's got a really good, I think, unique perspective from a male point of view on how he navigates his meal planning and prepping, and then I guess what meals we eat together as a family. But I just want to talk about the importance of meal planning and prepping in general, because I think it's something that we can either feel really overwhelmed by, or I often have clients who'll do a little bit of planning and prepping and then they might, fall off track with that habit and routine. And what I see is that those who do meal plan and prep are the ones that are able to follow through with their goals, because it makes it so much more achievable. And my goal really is I want people to live their healthiest and happiest lives. And a big part of that comes from the food we eat. So I could give you the best nutrition plan. I could give you all of the strategies that are going to help you with whatever goals it may be for you, whether it's optimizing your health or resolving symptoms, or whether it's a body composition goal. But unless you have the habits in place like meal planning and prepping, it's going to make it really difficult to follow through and achieve those goals. I know for me, if I don't do my meal planning and prepping, I feel really just out of routine. I don't eat as well. Not like I'll still have healthy food in the fridge, but I don't eat as well because I won't have meals ready to go. So it means that I might skip lunch, or I might have it really late because I'm not prepared. The other reality is that so many of us feel really busy already. We might be chasing career goals, raising a family, wanting healthy relationships. We want to nourish ourselves, keep up with regular exercise and self-care, and all of those things, still have a social life, right? And that's where meal planning and prepping comes in to make some of this achievable, because we all need to eat. We all need to, cook and eat. And what we eat has a major impact on the way we feel and function, and how we show up, how we show up in our relationships, whether we have the energy to exercise and follow through with our plans and habits for that, how focused and productive we feel at work and at building our career. It makes such an impact on our lives. Nutrition can be really overwhelming and complex. If you're constantly grocery shopping, if you're, constantly getting to the end of the day and being like, what am I going to cook for dinner, and having that decision fatigue. If you're cooking every single meal, like cooking a different lunch every day or a different dinner every day, it can feel really time consuming. And it can sometimes feel like you don't actually have the time to be doing all of that. And that's where I think we tend to let meal planning and prepping we just tend to fall out of routine for that. So today is all about simplifying things, like making things easier and teaching you how to use the strategies that I use and that we use for meal planning and prepping that is going to save you time, save you money, so you're not wasting food or you're not constantly going to the grocery store, and also just save on that decision fatigue of like the end of the day, what am I going to eat for dinner? For me, health is my number one priority, and that means my nutrition needs to be a priority, and nourishing and feeding my family is a priority. And why? Because it's the one thing that impacts everything else. It's the one thing that influences how I show up in my daily life. And I know that when I eat well, I do everything with more love, more energy, more patience. And that's why I meal plan and prep. And that's why I've been doing it for so long, week after week. It is just part of my routine. It's not because I love spending hours in the kitchen. And in fact, the way I do things means that I don't have to spend hours in the kitchen, because that's, not what it's all about. So what I wanted to first, before I dive into meal planning tips and suggestions for you, I want to talk to you, Flynn, about what you do, I guess, from that male perspective, because you eat quite differently than I do. We do eat family dinner together, so with our toddler and each other, but because of our work schedules and things like that, we do have like the rest of our meals during the day are separate. And so we have different nutritional needs. So I wanted to chat to you about like, what does your day look like in terms of training and your meals, and how do you navigate your meal prep? What do you do?
Yeah, so I work on site. So I'm a tradesman, so I work on site. I start on site at about 6 a.m, so it's pretty early. So at the moment I'm actually doing intermittent fasting. So my first meal of the day is at 11 o'clock when that's my lunch, which that's probably my biggest daytime meal. So I have a pre-prep meal which I do on Sundays in there. So I have that. Then I finish my day about 2 o'clock. I have a banana and a protein shake before I go to the gym, and then after the gym I come home and I cook 5 eggs basically, and then eat those, and then we have dinner together. So that's kind of my rundown of the day. So,
and that meal you take to work, you prep that. So you prep like your weekday meal. So tell me about that and what you make.
Yeah, so I'm pretty pragmatic with how I do my meal prep. I've over the years and years of prepping with you and by myself and all different things, I've found that simpler is best, and I'm not necessarily a person who is worried about having too much variety during the week. I feel that a lot of people are too stuck on the theory that they should be enjoying every meal, basically. Not enjoying it, but I just cook a meal. I look at it as a bit more like fuel. So as long as it's reasonably good, I can eat it every day, and it takes me a minimal time to prep. That's what I'm kind of looking for. So I'm doing mass cooks of baked chicken, roast potato. I do frozen vegetables for ease, or big cook-ups of meat. I'm on a bit of a red meat kind of fad at the moment, so I eat a lot of red meat, kangaroo and venison and stuff. So I just do a big cook-up on a Sunday, potatoes, red meat, frozen vegetables. I put those all in containers, freeze some, and keep some in the fridge. And then every day I just put those together in a container, chuck in the fridge, and then I just grab it and walk out the door. I'm similar to you, where if I don't do my meal prep, I'm definitely on the back foot. I don't really have a choice when I'm on site to where I can go. It's only just local things, and generally it's all pretty crap. So if I don't do my meal prep, I'm definitely feel a step behind during the week.
And you don't want to get stuck into the tradie lifestyle of
no.
Big M's and sausage rolls.
That's right, the classic tradie of Red Bull and a sausage roll. But I mean, realistically, and also just the money of buying lunch is far outweighs the cost of doing meal prep.
Yeah.
Like for me, you buy some crap focaccia or something, whatever, from somewhere, and it's $15, $16, and then you buy a drink and, you end up spending $20, $25 every day. And over the 5 days of work week, that, it's $150 or whatever it be.
The money adds up, and also the time. Like, you're going to then have to find somewhere every day to buy lunch from. You're lining up, and yes, sure, you're in your work break and you're in work time, but I think your meal prep is super simple that you can throw it together really quickly. And like, how long does your meal prep take?
So I've got it down pretty well. So I do remember when we used to cook pretty elaborate
extravagant meals.
Because we thought that would be a good idea, and I remember it used to take us a couple of hours at least to do. But now I've got it down to about 45 minutes I can do. So that's helpful, obviously, and I do it on a Sunday. And then that's important for me to do that on a Sunday. So that's just my habit of doing it on a Sunday, and that's always just when the time I do it. So, and it's always, I try to always do it before 5 p.m. Not always can be done, but we do the grocery shopping and our kind of domestic duties on a Sunday. So our Sunday's quite a busy day for us just with that kind of stuff. But I do try to have it stack, and after we do the groceries, then I have lunch, then I want to get stuck into my meal prep and just do my meal prep and then have it done before 5, so then I can have time to relax, play with our son and hang out and just be a family and have that relaxed time before we go back to work.
Yeah, and I would say that you doing a really quick meal prep for yourself means that that's one less thing that I have to worry about. So I just focus on like the planning, the actual, planning of dinner meals and family meals for the week, and obviously my own and our sons as well. So that makes it, I guess it just shares that load as well, and makes things a lot easier. I think it's a really good point that you made, that you are yes, you eat the same thing. It's been week after week for quite a while that you've been eating the same thing without worry, but you do get variety in your dinners and obviously weekends and things like that. So I think people come unstuck where they feel like they need so much variety, that every meal needs to be different and every day needs to look different. Whereas in reality, and what makes things a lot easier, is if you have some meals that you are cooking fresh and that are varied. So that might be your dinner, because that's a family meal for a lot of people. And then you have some meals where, for you this is slightly different, but for a lot of people, it might just mean having 2-3 different things on rotation. So for example, one week you might have a certain breakfast for 5 days of the week, from Monday to Friday, and then the next week you might have a different breakfast. And prep that. Or for some of I know for some of my clients, they'll do 3-day meal prep at a time. So they'll prep 3 days worth of lunches and breakfasts, might cook dinner fresh at home, or might cook something for dinner that they'll eat for a couple of nights in a row, and then they'll rotate that, so they're still getting variety of every few days, different meals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my variety comes in dinner, that's for sure, and snacks, I guess, at home, a little bit of snacks at home. But I don't expect everyone to do what I do, because people do look at me like I have a third eye when I say I just eat the same thing every day. But for me, it just makes it so much more simple and easy, and I've got that meal prep down to such a routine and basically a fine art that I can get it done very, very quickly, which makes it not a burden or anything on me. I know I can just get it done quick. It's 45 minutes. I get it done, and I have meals the entire week, and they're good quality meals that just feed exactly what I need and feed me. So I don't think everyone should do that, but even changing your meals week to week, so you could do rice and chicken one week and then red meat and potato the next week, and then just mix them up or whatever. And there's all different types. I use frozen veg, like I said, so there's all different types of frozen veg, all different varieties of vegetables, and then your fats. So I use avocado, but you can use different fats, butter, whatever. You can use these different things.
I think that's where and something I teach my clients is having a knowledge of a framework for meals. So I call it balanced meals. So knowing your portion sizes of how much protein to throw in there, how much carbs, how much fats, how much fiber, so your veggies. And then knowing what is a protein, what is a carbs, where am I going to get those sources from, so that you can throw together a meal using that basic framework week after week. It might be, the meals might be different and the food might be different, but that framework is the same. So you're getting consistency in your nutrition and your nutritional needs from a macro point of view in that perspective. And that means you're for you, it's helping you reach your goals. It's fueling your training. It's providing you with the nutrients, micronutrients, macronutrients that you need as well. And
it also prevents me from overeating essentially as well, because I've had that meal and I know exactly what I'm eating. So I'm not if I could imagine if I was buying stuff, I would always buy it'd be hard because you go to the shops and you'd buy that extra bit of banana bread or a croissant or whatever, which I see guys doing on site. You know, they buy these extra little things and stuff, and that just, like, all these things that just add up to you basically putting on extra calories, so extra weight. So for me to stay relatively lean and healthy and have that, and then to have that option on the weekends, where, because I'm pretty strict during the week with those meals that I've made, on the weekends there's a little bit more leeway where you can, at 1 or 2 meals there, you know, go out for dinner and things like that, where you can have that leeway. So that's that, you know, the 80-20 kind of thing going on there. So yeah, I think, like I say, I'm pretty pragmatic with my meal prep, but it serves me well. And like I said, I've been eating the same thing for a little bit now.
Yeah. And then I want to, like, just say, like, we do ours obviously differently. Like, I eat different to Flynn for, you know, breakfast, lunches during the week, because, and I've said this before in an episode, and I will continue to say it, but when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to any kind of, like, I guess, nutrition, lifestyle practice, exercise, anything like that, women are not small men, and we have different nutritional needs, particularly if you are a woman of like in her reproductive years and you're still cycling, you still have an active menstrual cycle. We have different nutritional needs. And I think when it comes to, you know, some of the things that you do, like intermittent fasting, like long periods of fasting in the morning, you have quite a high volume of red meat. For you, like, we know from trial and error that your body responds quite well to, like, more fats and protein, and I wouldn't say low carb, but like a more moderate, lower carb approach. You do quite well with that. Whereas for a lot of females that I work with, and I know for myself as well, is that our nutritional needs are different. There's no way that I would be fasting that long into my morning after getting up at 6 a.m. It doesn't work for me, and it doesn't work for most females that I work with. So it's just, I think it's really good to understand when it comes to meal planning and prepping. If you are obviously in a relationship, there's a male and a female, and you have those different nutritional needs. It's like, how do you navigate and make that easier for the both of you when maybe you are cooking different meals? And so that's how we do it. Like, Flynn does his meal prep for his breakfast and obviously, his couple of meals a day. And then I do my meal prep for my breakfast, my lunch, my snacks, and then our toddlers, and then we have dinner together as a family, and our dinner will be the same, just with different, I guess, portion sizes.
That's right. And also, I think it's important to for us that because we do it separately, we do our meal prep separately, which you could work together. So, you know, you could have the potato or the rice you cook as one. But for us, because I cook my meal prep and then Tris will look after our son and hang out with him and do other jobs that we need to do. Then once Tris is doing her meal prep, then we kind of swap that role, and then I'm doing the other things. I'm looking after our son and, you know, washing the floors or whatever, those things. So because our Sunday's our domestic duties day, so that's how it kind of works for us, and our habits and our routine on that Sunday, how when we do our meal prep, it all kind of works in with each other. So that's just how we work. But I feel like, you know, you could work in together, which we did before we had a kid. We definitely did it together before we had a kid, but it just works better for us now, just do it separately. And I think, like you said, because I've got mine down pretty quick, it affords Tris a bit more opportunity to be able to just do her meal prep and be in the kitchen and just enjoy that time in the kitchen doing her cooking and stuff. Yeah.
And I definitely have clients that do that, like as couples, where they'll meal prep together and they'll have the same, it might be the same breakfast and lunch, or it might just be the same lunch, but their portion sizes will differ. And that works really well for them as well. What I wanted to go through, I guess, is my strategies, the tips that how I do things, but also the strategies and tips that I teach my clients on how to meal plan and prep that does make things easier and does help you save time and money and decision fatigue. So starting with number one, the first thing I would suggest, and the first thing I do, is meal plan. So actually plan out your week in advance. If you really struggle to do a week in advance, it might be at least 3 days in advance. But the last thing you want to be doing is going to the supermarket every single day and making a decision then on what to eat. I know for some people they can feel like, oh, but I don't know what I'll feel like in, a few days' time or at the end of the week. The more you practice it, you just realize that as long as you're making meals that you enjoy, it doesn't really matter. You don't have to think so far ahead and think, well, what am I going to feel like on Friday? Just plan out your week, plan out your breakfasts, your lunches, your dinners, your snacks. Whenever I do the planning, I always consider like, what does our weekly schedule look like? Are there any nights that we're going to be out, or is there any other meals that we're eating out that I don't need to plan for? Like we sort of touched on, like let go of needing to eat something different every single day. So whether that means that you cook a dinner fresh every night, maybe you make extra of that dinner and take it for lunch the next day, so you're still getting quite a bit of variety, or whether it be that you eat the same breakfast and lunch for 5 days from Monday to Friday, if that's your work schedule, and you have different dinners, you're going to get variety that way. Or whether it be that you have the same meals for 3 days in a row and then you rotate. Whatever works for you, but just let go of the need of feeling like you have to eat something completely different every single day. Whenever I do the planning, I always include meals that can be bulk cooked, so cooked in larger batches, whether it be that I can freeze it for a spare meal, whether we use it that week or whether we use it another week, it doesn't matter, but something that can be bulk cooked and used for leftovers or even components of the meals. So for example, I might cook like a slow cooker, something I can cook in a really big batch on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night, and then I'll use the leftovers on Friday night, because I also know at the end of the week on a Friday night, probably the night that I feel less likely wanting to cook and like have less time and energy for cooking. So if I can have a leftover on a Friday night, perfect. It might also mean, like when you're planning those meals, that you just use components of that meal. So think about when you plan out your meals, say for example, you're going to have dinner one night, say you're doing some grilled teriyaki salmon with some Asian greens and some rice. And then you're going to use rice for your lunches, or you're going to use rice for the next night for dinner for a different meal. Make that rice, like cook that extra rice then and there, so then you're not having to do it the next day or for that next meal. So just think about where you can cook those components or the components or the full meal that can be cooked in bulk and used for another meal. The benefits of also that when it comes to particularly rice and potato, if you're batch cooking that and using them for leftovers, when you cook and cool potato or rice or really any grains, once they cool in the fridge for 12 hours, they produce something called resistant starch. That resistant starch feeds good, healthy gut bacteria and is really good for your gut. Yes, you can reheat it when you eat it. It doesn't have to be eaten cold, but there's other benefits, obviously, than just saving time. The other thing, I think I mentioned this, but just with when you're planning out your meals, consider using dinner leftovers for breakfast or lunches. Yes, even breakfast, not just lunches, but breakfast doesn't have to be your traditional eggs on toast or your cereal or any of those kind of traditional standard breakfasts. Anything can be a breakfast meal. It might be like a beautiful soup. It might be a slow cooker meal. Anything can be used for breakfast. And then if you've got one, utilize a slow cooker. Like they're so easy. Chuck things in a slow cooker, set and forget. You can come home to like a beautiful cooked meal, particularly as we're going into winter. So that's my tips on the actual planning side of things. So get yourself a good like meal planner, whether it's a fridge magnet that you stick on the fridge or something that you print out. But that's the number one step, is to actually plan those meals out. Anything else with planning?
No, I think you covered it all. I just think the leftovers for a Friday is my absolute best tip. I think we always get to a Friday, and if we haven't planned anything, or even if we have, we just go look at each other and just go, oh, who can be bothered cooking? So having like that, a meal already cooked, it's like, I always say to Tris, it's like having takeaway without the money or the badness of it. It's just like, you just get it, you get something nice, like I say, like an ossobuco or whatever, or like a slow cooked pork or whatever it is, and you just put it on, change it up. So if you had the slow cooked pork and you had it on a baked potato last time, and then you make, tacos out of it on a Friday, to me it's like you've just got like a easy, simple meal. It's basically takeaway, because most of the time you don't actually particularly feel like a takeaway. You just can't be bothered cooking. So having that meal, that's one of the best hacks I think we do that makes it just so much easier for us to just get home on a Friday, and it's just a relaxing, easy end of the week thing. We just heat up a meal. Everyone, it's good nutritious meal that we just all eat together, and it's delicious.
Yeah. And on that thought with takeaway, because we do cook predominantly at home. We do, of course, go out, like socially, we go out and we enjoy like eating out at restaurants. But when it actually comes to like, I guess, takeaway, like we don't really do a lot of takeaway. But what we do have is like I guess not a rule, but a guideline of like, if one of us specifically feels like something. So if I say like, I really want to do like a pizza, or I really want to do Thai food or something like that, we'll go for a takeaway then. But if we don't have an actual craving for something specific, we won't do takeaway just for the sake of doing takeaway.
That's right. So if you get home and you're like, oh, I can't go cooking, do you want to get takeaway? Oh, what do you want to get? And you're going through these ideas and no one can think of anything to get, that is a clear sign that you just can't be bothered cooking and you don't really want takeaway, you just don't want to cook.
Yeah, and that's where planning comes in.
That's right. And that's where like that meal, having those meals in the fridge where you can just go, I can't be bothered cooking, but I've got 4 meals, different styles of meals in the fridge that are all frozen, and we can just get one out and go, yeah, what do you feel like, bolognese or shredded pork or whatever, and you can go bolognese, whatever, and get that, and then you've just got taken away that issue of not having to cook.
Yeah. Next step, so after meal planning comes obviously your grocery shop. I always, like, my recommendation would be to do a grocery shop once or twice a week. You don't want to be going to the grocery store every day and wasting time doing that. I personally don't like grocery shopping. My other tips with grocery shopping is keep a well-stocked pantry. So things that you can keep in your pantry or even your freezer, that means that you can throw together a last-minute meal or, have it for a lunch where you haven't prepped anything. Things like tuna or any tinned, like tuna, salmon, sardines, legumes, having even things in there like tin tomato, coconut milk and things like that you can use for meals. Spices is a really good one. Keeping your fridge stocked with like nuts and seeds. Yes, I keep those in the fridge, keeps the oils fresh. Just those kind of like, pantry and fridge and even freezer items like frozen veg on hand. If you have that well stocked, it means you can throw together meals quite easily if you haven't prepped something or if you need like a last minute meal. After grocery shopping, when we bring them home, I try and get into the habit, or we try and get into the habit of, as soon as we bring groceries home, obviously unpack them, but we wash and even sometimes chop the veggies then and there. So all our veggies get washed in apple cider vinegar and bicarb, or a fruit and veggie wash, just to wash off any of the residue and stuff like that, especially if we can't get access to like organic or spray free. But anyway, even if it's organic, it definitely needs washing anyway.
Touch fruit and stuff, it's just, it's got to be washed.
And organic stuff has bugs and things in it.
You watch people touch fruit and
we wash it all, dry it all. If you've got some time then and there, because this saves time for meals during the week, chop some of your produce then. And what I mean by that is, if you've just washed a broccoli head or two and you know that for the meals you're using it for during the week is going to be chopped into florets, chop all of that broccoli up, throw it into your freezer bag or your glass container or whatever it may be. It's then already in your fridge ready to go. So when you go to make that meal, you can just throw it in without having to do the actual chopping. And that's if you've got the time. Like, obviously you're talking about like a small amount of difference in actually prepping that meal or making that meal during the week, but that can be really helpful. I find it really helpful for like fruit and just some of the other produce and just things that I throw together during the week, like salads for my lunches and things like that. Anything else with that?
No, I think you covered it all.
Meal planning and prepping. My own, so for me, I guess we've talked about like what Flynn's meal planning and prep looks like. For me, I will have, I work from home, and so that makes things a lot easier for me. I always have to have my lunch prepped though, because my days are busy, whether it's a work day for me or whether I have our toddler home, it's always busy. So that means lunches are always prepped for me. I will generally cook something that lasts me, if it doesn't last me 5 days, it will at least last me 3 days, and then I'll prep something else for the last, 2 days of the week. And then obviously weekends are a little bit more flexible, or I'm home and can make something. Some of those days I need to make for my son as well. So he will either eat the same thing that I do, maybe served up in a slightly different way, or I'll make him something really simple and something slightly different. So for him, it might be, he really likes tuna and rice. So I'll do tuna rice and frozen veggies, throw in some like good fat mayonnaise, and he loves that. Or I'll make some like veggie fritters. What else do I make? Like little like pancakes. I always make some sort of like healthy cookie or muffin or banana bread or something like that for a snack. And just other like little bits and pieces like that for him. So that's fairly easy. And then when it comes to breakfast, like my son and I eat the same thing for breakfast. So we'll either have like eggs on toast. I might have some like sauteed up veggies with that. Can't really get leafy greens into him, but I'm trying. Or we'll have like a porridge with berries and chia seeds, and I'll put some protein in there. So whether it be like, I usually do like collagen powder and some yogurt and some other things just to get a protein source in there as well. So we will rotate through those breakfasts, and then sometimes pancakes, like protein pancakes as well. So I basically have 3 breakfasts on rotation. Lunch might be slightly different every week. I've got, a big handful of recipes that I like to make for my lunches. So whether it be soups that will have a protein and a carb source. So for example, this week I made like a chicken and quinoa veggie soup. There's so many different things I make, to be honest, for lunch, but I rotate through those. So and then like I said, we do dinners at home, and that's it. I think that's pretty much it when it comes to meal planning and prepping.
Yeah. For me, just for my meal prepping, I also utilize protein shakes and stuff just for a quick source of protein I can do when I'm like driving to the gym, things like that, and fruit, like a high carb fruit like a banana or something for the gym. So that's something I do as well. So so that I reckon that's about it though.
Yeah,
it's all pretty simple stuff really.
I think we've covered it. So I hope that was really helpful. I hope that was practical. I know we jumped around a bit with sharing different things that we do, but hopefully those strategies and those tips are going to help you just with considering how you can work meal planning and prepping into your lifestyle and for your personal needs and goals. Thanks for joining us on the Empowered Flow podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, I'd love you to share it with a friend and take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. Your support means the world and fuels our mission to empower women everywhere. You can also reach out to me on Instagram at TrissAlexandraNutrition. Sending big love. I'll catch you in the next episode.